morning. Please join me in a responsive reading of Judson's Land Acknowledgement, which you can find in your bulletins. Place is more than just a piece of land. It is a piece of who we are. For too long, we have associated this place, where Judson Church sits, with our European American roots, forgetting the people who called this place home for centuries before us. Minnesota, Coaching, land where the waters reflect the sky, and specifically this park of Twin Cities, the ancestral home of the Dakota, well-educated people. It is home to their creation stories. It is where they hunted, fished, harvested, and cared for the land. It raised families, celebrated life and communities, and laid their loved ones to rest. We acknowledge that we, the people, our ancestors and governments, forcibly removed the Wapikute from their ancestral lands through relocation, warfare, execution, imprisonment in concentration camps, starvation, disease, and forced assimilation. Treaties were made and subsequently broken by us. We remember and lament the history of this land. Today, we acknowledge and appreciate our Dakota, Anishinaabe, and other indigenous peoples as neighbors and fellow citizens. We unite to do better by our neighbors, to stand with them, and to learn from them as we seek to create a community that seeks a creative space in everything.
Well, thank you, Brian. Thank you, congregation, for the land acknowledgement. It's All Saints Day, so you know how we say this, our Baptist ancestors democratized sainthood. So meaning it's the sainthood of all believers. So if you want to congratulate yourself this morning and say, "Good morning, Saint," you can. Or you want to turn to your neighbor and say, "Good morning, Saint." How about you do that as a practice? Just see what happens. Turn to your neighbor. Good morning, Saint. Doesn't that feel better? Doesn't that just make the day feel better? Right? It is All Saints Day, so this is one of those days where we kind of think about the line between past and future and present. They all kind of come together. It's just a liminal space to kind of mark time, to feel our, to put our hand out and maybe find our ancestors. The ancients believed time was linear, but more, linear that also had a bend in it. And so the ancient past, it was just over the horizon. It wasn't thousands of years ago. It was, Jesus would talk about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as if they were just beyond the reach. And the coming of God, the reign of God was coming just beyond the reach of around the horizon. I think it's a much healthier way of thinking of it. Our ancestors are much closer to us than we think they are. And they are with us here this morning, and let us acknowledge, give thanks for all the people that have formed who we are and loved us into being. We want to say first a welcome to, it's always a special morning when Karen joins us. So Karen, thank you very much. And we see a new face in the choir. We welcome Helen. So Helen, thanks for So there we go. So for those of you watching online, we will have an opportunity later where we'll be remembering those that would like to just voice the name, the holy name of those who have passed. If you would like to share one in the chat, please do so. We'll account for that. But as we gather here, this is a community that centers ourselves on deep spirituality, on social justice, on joy and hospitality. That'll be evident also in communion that'll take place later on today. If you've ever been in a church where they said, they had strict requirements for communion, we're kind of like how can we say this? We're kind of the lowest common denominator when it comes for communion. If you have breath, you can take communion in Judson. So that's where we are today. So and remember, communion is more of a dinner party. So we will fasten it. So the day will kind of feel like this. There'll be communion. I mean, there'll be the necrology, the naming of the dead, the sharing of the names, the kind of giving pause for that, acknowledging them. And then what happens after a funeral? You go downstairs and eat, right? And you tell stories and you reminisce and you make yourself whole again. And that's how communion is going to be at the end of the day. It's a chance to think of it as the dinner party after a funeral. The Greek word is anamnesis. You want to go ahead and say that with me? Anamnesis. Good job. The good Greek word's already there. And there's this when Jesus says, "Do this in remembrance of me." Anamnesis is this idea of remembering, but also of kind of putting yourself back together again. To remind yourself of your loveliness. To remind yourself that you are just, inside a beautiful person. That you are forgiven, loved, and free. And anamnesis is one of those ways that hopefully it'll happen in communion. It'll just happen just as you walk up the aisle, as you stand next to another person, as you breathe, as we just kind of bask in this moment of grace. So we are thankful for your presence today, and thankful for your love, and just who you are that's here this morning. Please join us in the call to worship. After that, we will stand and sing hymn number 299, For All the Saints, and we'll ask Brian to lead us in this.
We remember, O God,
the countless saints of history, who have laid the trail of courage through time.
we remember, O God,
The tender touch of loved ones, the example of heroes, the healing words of comforters, the remarkable acts of fearless ones.
we remember, O God,
The gentle strength of grandmothers, the loyalty of friends, the kindness of strangers, the joy of children, the sacrifice of parents.
we remember, O God,
The supreme love of Jesus, the blessing of the Spirit, the reminder of His words, the sharing of His suffering, the glory of His resurrection, shown forth in the lives of His disciples, young and old, dead and living, articulate and silent, strange and familiar, brilliant and ordinary.
we remember in every time and place the saints of God who have shown us love. The first lesson is a poem by Mary Oliver called The Journey. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do. Though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible, it was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds. And there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save.
Please.
No.
Fair enough, fair enough. Okay, I'll need everybody to come as close as possible just for this morning, because I got a book. It's got some. This is Galen's spot. I mean, there's no compromise here. Yeah. Okay, well, it is All Saints Day. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? First off, did anybody get whole bars of candy? Yeah, what'd you get? Whole bar of what? Starburst. Oh, a whole box of Starburst. Oh, good job. Kim, what about you? Nut roll. Hey, yeah, way to go. Yeah. Well, which kind? The red or the blue? The regular? Did you ask them? I'd really like the blue, the skin. They only had red. Okay. Yeah. Did anybody find that the morning after your trick-or-treating, that some of the candy was gone? And the only explanation for this is that possibly an intruder came in late at night that was possibly one of your parents or guardians. Did anybody find that to be true? Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. You got the jackpot of lollipops. How do you? You did steal your dad's M&Ms. Okay. So, yeah. And I'm sure that he had probably helped himself to your M&Ms before that other time, right? No. All right, okay. So good stuff going on. Okay, well, today is All Saints Day, and I have a book here of woodcuts of saints. And can you all come closer so you can see some of these? Yeah, this is an artist who, do you know what a woodcut is? Can anybody tell me what a woodcut is? It's a cut of wood. Way to go. Yeah, way to go. Yeah. An artist takes makes a piece of art, a drawing on a piece of wood, but it's reverse, and so then when you press it onto the paper, then it's the right way, right? So it's a mirrored look. So think about trying to draw something in reverse. That would be tough, wouldn't it? So let's just look at some saints. Here's one, Saint Ignatius of Loyola. Look at how he draws. Yeah, good stuff there. Yeah. Yeah. And then let's get his nose is big. Yeah, he has. This artist likes to make big noses. Yeah, I could say that. There's Saint Athanasius. There's where was I getting? Oh, here she is. Yeah, Catherine of Siena. Look at that face. Isn't that cool the way you can see the etchings where they made that mark? Yeah. But let's go ask a question. Here's a whole book of saints that this artist has done. But do you know any saints yourself? Or what do you think makes somebody a saint? Okay. What makes somebody a superhero in our life? What makes somebody a superhero? Their power, right? Powers, right? Their ability to maybe like lift cars off of people, or to, you know, like make the earth go backwards and reverse time, or make big things like that happen. You have magnets on their hand? Yeah? Big things can happen with their hand? Yeah. Yeah, just like that, and you could do it, right? Yeah. Let's try it. It didn't work at all. Yeah, it didn't work at all. Football Saints, we could say, right? Yeah, New Orleans Saints, yeah. You cannot get this. No, how do you try it? So let me tell you, so how many of you ever played kickball? Kickball, yeah. How many of you played kickball on like a grass surface? Right? How many of you played kickball on a basketball court, like a hard surface outside? Okay, good. So we got a couple. All right. So every day in elementary school, we played kickball after lunch. It was part of what we got to do, and it was cutthroat. And so there was a play at home. It was tied 4-4. It was us, my team, against the other sixth graders, and it was Mr. Wolf's class, and nobody liked Mr. Wolf's class, right? And Mr. Wolf's class, they would always, rub it in how they beat us every time. It was 4-4. There was a kid hit a sacrifice kick out in the center field, kind of basically. It was caught. There was going to be a play at home. I was on third base. I tagged up, ran to home plate. There was a close plate at the home plate. There was only one thing I could do to make it safe. Slide. I had shorts on. It was blacktop. My entire leg was, just flesh, right? But we won. My gosh, we won, right? And I went in, and I was sitting there in class, and all of a sudden my leg just started throbbing in pain. And it was bleeding, and I felt terrible, and I started to cry. And my teacher said, "Shut up, crybaby." But Mitch Hammer was sitting there next to me. Think about the name Mitch Hammer. Shouldn't he be like a small claims court lawyer? Mitch Hammer. But Mitch Hammer came over to me right after Miss Bibby said that, and I was crying even more, and put his arm around me and said, "It's going to be okay, Trav. It's going to be okay." And that, I think, was a saintly activity. Telling somebody that it's going to be okay. He did not play for the Saints, no. No, I don't know what Mitch does now. It's a good question. He could have, maybe. That kind of compassion. He should have. But that's the kind of, when we say about saints, you can be a saint all the time by doing stuff like that. That doesn't mean that you go around and look for people that are, you don't, in the middle of the kickball game, you go, "Hey, slide if you ever get in from third base," right? No. It doesn't mean you look for those kind of opportunities, but just, you'll be there, and there's times when somebody's really having a down day, and maybe the only thing you can do is just tell that person, "You're going to get through this." You can do that, right? Yeah. You may not be able to lift a car off somebody. You may not be able to eat 100 hot dogs in 30 seconds. Speak for yourself, exactly, yeah. You may be extremely clever. That's another saintly activity, yeah. But we can do this. All right, that sound good? Saints, you ready for your challenge to be saints? Yeah? You don't want to be a saint? That's okay, right? But you're going to have to be. Yeah. But you'll grow into it. You'll grow into it. Yeah. All right. Now receive a blessing from the faith community that loves you.
God be with you, and also with you.
All right. Good job. Thanks, everybody.
let's take a moment now to center ourselves. I invite you all to get comfortable in your pews. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable, and bring your attention to your breath. I'm going to do a brief guided visualization, and as I do so, try to bypass your thinking mind and instead allow images to rise up in you. So again, focusing on your breath. And then imagine that you are in a place of your ancestors. A country of origin for you. And if you've never been there, that's okay. Just allow your imagination to paint a picture for you. Imagine you're walking on this land, and with each footstep, be aware that the soil comes from your people. Their bones, their lives, having created the soil beneath you. With each footstep, be aware of the roots beneath the ground, swirling, connecting, entwining, reaching for nourishment, while the ground itself is still and calm. And imagine that the stories of this land, of your people, are rising up through the soles of your feet like sap through a tree trunk. And filling you with all the longings and loves and joys and hardships and traumas that the human story contains. Continue walking on this land of your people. And bring your attention now to the sky. Imagine it's growing dark and the stars are beginning to appear. One star in particular gradually draws your attention. It flickers and then turns into a face of a person, an ancestor, Maybe one you knew, like a grandmother or aunt. Or maybe one you never met, like a great-great-grandparent. Imagine now that face appearing to you in the sky. This is the face of someone who loved you way before you were born, loves you throughout your life, and will continue loving you in the beyond. See this person now in a scene from their life, something they enjoyed doing. Just let it come. Notice what they look like, what they're wearing. Now imagine that person is no longer in that scene, but right here looking at you. And feel their love washing over you, flowing into you. Feel your love pouring from you, washing over them. Now ask if there is something they would like you to know. As you take in this message, they begin to fade, turning back into a star. And as they do so, all the other stars, tens, hundreds, thousands, countless numbers of stars, twinkle and turn into the faces of all those who have gone before you. Your parents, great-grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents, those whose blood courses through your veins, and those who have been adopted or folded into your story. See these ancestors going back hundreds, many hundreds of years, filling up the sky. And see them in scenes from their life, living through good times and bad, celebrations and joys, diseases and wars, turmoil and cultural collapse. Lift up your arms to them and feel their love and wisdom flowing into you. What is their message? Feel held now in the light of the most wise and loving ancestors. And know you can be that light for next generations. Your life gradually dissolving into those who came before and those who come after. And allow that knowing to ground you now in this moment, in these times. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And listen to the children playing fairly downstairs.
For the necrology, I'd like to set it up, frame it this way. On the one hand, we are going to read the names of the Judson members who died since last All Saints Day. You're also going to be invited to speak the name or names of loved ones or friends or just anyone in your life that you had a connection to, that you want to make sure that their name is just spoken aloud. You can say this as you're seated. It's not, there may be 2 or 3 names being said at the same time. It's okay. But you may recall an article in the Star Tribune about 5 years ago, I think. It was the issue of what to do with all of the remains of people at the cremation societies. Is that there are closetfuls of ashes that have never been claimed. The state law says you can't just dispose of human remains, which is a great thing. But all of these people that have seemingly been forgotten. That's part of our culture today. I mean, all of us, most of us don't live in the places that we grew up. We've moved away. There was a time when you could just walk out the church doors into the churchyard, and there would be all your ancestors. You could touch them. You could sing to them. You could listen to them. But we're separated from those now. It's just part of who we are. And I think maybe the greatest thing that we can do as a faith community is to announce to the world that you will not be forgotten. We're going to say your name when you die. We're going to tell your stories. And we're going to be there, regardless if no one else is. There's been plenty of funerals I've been at where it's only me and the funeral director and the deceased. And we do the best service we possibly can for that person. Because they deserve it just as much as anybody else. So today, let us begin that act of anamnesis, of remembering, of putting things back together, of not forgetting, and being part of a living tradition. We now say the names of the Judson members who have died since last All Saints Day. Jackie Thurston. Oh, you want to do them together? Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's all say them together. Jackie Thurston. Let's give about 10 seconds. Mike Olson. Gene Cusick. Doug Wallace. invite you at this time to say the names of the departed that you would like to be said aloud.
Cindy Rice.
Al Reynolds.
Wyman Putney. Bob Cazone.
Edward Nellie Foster.
Kirk Castis. Senator Frank. Sandy Kanoki. Nathan Chu.
Daniel Larson. Louis Baum.
Richard Clay.
Ernie Dorn.
Art Strand.
Fred DeCastro, Carol DeCastro, Ryan Tuck,
Walt Bullen. Karen Boomerville. Stuart John Weller.
Albert Rosalie Irie. Cheryl Mary Ellen Osborne.
Esther Peterson.
Doug Loveland.
Bobby Lehman.
Gene Knutson.
Frank Bennett. Ronald Petrick.
Gracie Jones. Howard Hall. Bill Kilmer.
Would you join me in a litany of remembrance? At the rising sun and its going down,
We remember them.
at the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter,
We remember them.
at the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring,
We remember them.
at the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer,
We remember them.
at the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of the autumn,
We remember them.
at the beginning of the year and when it ends.
We remember them.
As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as,
We remember them.
when we are weary and in need of strength,
We remember them.
when we were lost and sick at heart,
We remember them.
when we have decisions that are difficult to make,
We remember them.
when we have joy we crave to share,
We remember them.
when we have achievements that are based on theirs.
We remember them.
For as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as.
We remember them.
May we pause for a minute and the musical meditation by Karen and Jim. Two lessons for this morning. Talking to Grief by Denise Levertov. Think of grief as a character. Don't be afraid of it. Talking to grief. Oh, grief, I should not treat you like a homeless dog who comes to the back door for a crust, for a meatless bone. I should trust you. I should coax you into the house and give you your own corner, a worn mat to lie on, your own water dish. You think I don't know you've been living under my porch. You long for your real place to be ready before winter comes. You need your name, your collar and tag. You need the right to warn off intruders, to consider my own house, and me your person, and yourself my own dog. And from Revelation chapter 21, verses 1 to 6. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "See, the home of God is among mortals. God will dwell with them, and they will be God's people. And God himself will be with them. God will wipe every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more, for the first things have passed away." And the one who was seated on the throne said, "See, I am making all things new. Write this, for these words are trustworthy and true." Then he said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty I will give water as a gift from the spring of the water of life." Thus ends the lesson. You know, one thing at a funeral they don't ever have, you never take an offering at a funeral. But you do have you have a little basket at the end, right, for memorials. That does happen. But we're going to take up an offering this time. And you know, this is a community that remembers. This is a community that looks back, doesn't give up on people, constantly offers second chances. You may have burned through all your bridges in life, but you'll probably find a little tiny pathway back across, somewhere in the midst of this people. And for that, we continue to support. Now, I need to make you aware that we have now started a giving campaign at Judson. You know, we passed a $48,000 deficit budget back in May. Give yourselves a round of applause. Way to go for that. Yeah, that's a little rhetorical, but that's okay. Yeah, we can do that. We have a campaign we had half of that. We have an anonymous donor that is going to match up to $12,000. So if we can raise 12, they're going to give 12. So we're going to start, it actually started on Friday and will continue until December 8th. So we got about a month to try to do this. We think we can do it. We're pretty confident we can. We're also going to ask you if you haven't ever used Give to the Max Day. Now there's lots of great things to use for Give to the Max Day, and you should be doing that. But we ask that you would, if you haven't made a special gift to Judson, that you use the Give to the Max Day as a possibility. People have already started giving through Give to the Max Day for this campaign, so we're thankful for that. So that's the announcement about giving. And now may we transition a little bit as we take up the offering. The communion hymn is I Come With Joy, number 349. Well, if you've never been at a communion service at Judson, we say you're in for a treat, both literally and metaphorically. So, remember the actor Alec Guinness? Remember? Yeah, there's a wonderful little line in his memoir about when he converts to Catholicism. And after he converts, he wakes up the next morning and he runs down the street in excitement to receive the sacrament. When was the last time you ever thought about running for communion? When was the last time you ever thought that the table of grace is open and I'm not going to walk, I'm going to sprint? And then what if you try, and I don't want this to try this, right? I don't want you to try to reenact Charlie Henry and Jet's race. of the earth like they do for tiny children. But I want you to have an expectant heart. You know, that when you receive this meal, something happens. Like any meal you have with somebody that's special. You look across the table at an eye to eye, and you think this is somebody I want to spend the rest of my life with. Or you're there with your best friend and you're about to tell them that you're about to move away. Or you're there with a loved one and you're both just sitting there crying, remembering, and wishing that the person that you love the most is still with you in person. All those things happen around the table, and that's the kind of embrace that happens at communion. Enemies. We remember how that we are loved. We remember that we are forgiven. We remember that we are free. We remember that we are not to be judged on our worst possible moments. That those moments don't get to define us for the rest of our lives, but we are defined as loving human beings. So as you come forward, we ask you to take a piece of bread, take a piece of Norwegian ski cheese, which I told everybody last time that it has a little caramel flavor, and I said it's wonderful on waffles. I asked Kian, 16-year-old, what do you think of the ski cheese on a waffle? Ugh. So, but you know, we're expanding his palate, you know? We're pushing everybody to the limits. We asked you to get a cup of juice. And here's another thing. When you're up in line, how about you say the name of somebody else, or you just maybe tell a funny story, or something memorable about the person you voiced today. Those names are holy, and just honor the holiness today. We're told that in Scriptures that people will come from north, south, and east and west, the feast at the table of God. And may we do like that. Amen. You are invited to partake of this meal. When you feel ready, we give thanks to Bruce Elliott for breaking the bread. Baking the bread, not breaking the bread. Thanks, Bruce, for making the bread. Thank you for Polly for her work, getting everything all set up. And those from north, south, east, and west, let's feast at the table of God. If you haven't partaken of bread and cheese and wine, or bread, cheese, and juice, please do so at this time. You know, we are trying to break cycles here in Judson, harmful cycles that the church has participated in way too long. You know, one of those has been communion just making you feel terrible. By both the message and the fact that communion tastes terrible, right? So we're trying to break those cycles. Why should the body of Christ taste so bland? It should taste good. And you should feel good that God has forgiven you and that God wants to be in a relationship with you. That's a meal to celebrate, not a meal to sit around and feel terrible about. So that's what we're up to, if you're curious why we did this. So thanks for Polly for making everything, and for Bruce for the bread, and let's just thank choir. You were outstanding today. Thank you. Karen and Jim, what can we say, right? You were wonderful, so thank you. Yeah. You should take it on the road. Yeah. Things that are coming up that you need to know about. Austin, I'm going to ask you to come up on November 11th. Amanda Tyler, who is the Executive Director for the Baptist Joint Committee, Public Affairs lobbying group in D.C. that we support. She's going to be at Hennepin Avenue, United Methodist Church, talking about her new book, How to End Christian Nationalism. You'll find more about this, and there'll be a link coming out. It's free to attend. You will be able to purchase her book there, and she'll be talking about that part.
Yeah, just an update on the strategic priorities plan. So we kind of headed it Judson's Bright Future, or the Bright Future Forum we had, kind of to get it strategic planning, sounds too corporate. So we're going to call it Judson's Bright Future, and we got new versions of those activities printed in the back with everybody that had signed up to date. Just as a reminder, the way we're going to try to keep track of this is to have more people on the council, and the council meeting is coming up this week. And so if you have updates from your committees, if you haven't already communicated by email, and you can try to find a member of the council, you can see who's there on board with the back. And so at church, we can just kind of talk about those, check in, and then we will be providing updates on all the great progress that's going on as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Yeah, if you haven't had a chance yet, please make sure you're taking the time for that. Tomorrow is election eve. We're probably hardly anybody here is probably thinking about the election. It's going through. But Carolyn will be leading a online meditation for us tomorrow night. So take that in. And other things that are happening. That's the big parts. Yeah, we've got how should we say it, right? I mean, who knows what this thing's going to bring? We're all probably lost lots of sleep, and we have more gray hairs because of this week, coming up with worry and everything. But, we just got to trust that there are movements out there, fusion movements that are trying to connect, social justice, love, and joy, and peace. We just got to put our faith in it and see what happens. When we wake up Wednesday, our call is still going to be the same, to be compassionate, to be justice-minded. Those things don't stop. But it may be harder. It may be harder. We'll see what happens. But know from the bottom of my heart, the bottom of yours, and the bottom of God's heart, that the Creator of the universe is not against you, but is for you. That Emmanuel, the Christ promises, I will never forsake you. I will be with you until the end of time. And the Holy Spirit is not your accuser, but is your advocate, to remind you bone deep that you are forgiven, loved, and free. And you are charged to love this world into a new existence, regardless of what powers are present. buffet restaurant. Right before we would get ready to leave, she'd be, hold on one second. And she would grab her napkin and she'd fill it up with stuff. And then she would wrap it up and put it in her purse. All to say, there's some extra cheese up here. Take some home with you and have it, maybe on a piece of toast tomorrow or just, today. So please do so. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for all your love and kindness and big heart you have. That concludes our service.